Welcome to week 6. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. How are you doing? How are you doing during this time? I know it's been an interesting semester with everything going on around us. I know that the news and the reports can create anxiety. So how are you doing? And if you need to, please stop this video and reflect on that, because it is important for us to reflect on how we're doing. I know that typically when we think about that very question and how it's posed, it's usually part of the pleasantries of interaction, or how when we're passing by somebody, how you doing? Good. Okay, great. And what would it look like if we really shared where we are? I remember one time being at the church, a gentleman that was older than I was stopped me and said, "Son, how are you doing?" And I remember saying, "Good." And he kind of got my attention. He goes, "Are you really?" And it kind of startled me for a second, because I wasn't used to being asked that, right? Had always seen that as part of the pleasantries. And it gave me a chance to reflect. Was I doing okay? Or was that just a conditioned response of what it was to say when asked that? And so please, how are you doing? Take the time, process that. There's a lot going on. How are you doing? This week, let's see, I moved my screens. Give me 1 second as I pull that up. Let's see, week 6, you have your textbook reading of chapters 16 and 17, and then you have your Blackboard discussion post. And it has been impressive getting to read your post. I've really enjoyed them, and I hope that week 6 is one and the same. This week is going to be very similar to what you've been able to do throughout the semester, and those of y'all that have had me multiple times, you know the application is everything to me. It is good to know what you know, but it's only as good as if you can apply it, right? Because of sitting in that chair. And I know that I've mentioned that reference many times, and if you're tired of hearing me reference that, okay, I get that. But I want you to start visualizing yourself sitting in that chair, whether it's a church, nonprofit, whether it's in a clinic. What would you do? Why would you do it? And then how would you express that, right? And so hopefully the book, the research in the book, the text has been beneficial, not only in this class, but as you continue to usher that out into the field. Interacting with friends, neighbors, church members, whatever it may be, how do we impact people, and why? So this week we're going to look at a case study that I've kind of just created, and I want to hear your thoughts, as it will hopefully prepare you for your final project, which will be the opportunity of a video case study. And I know that for those of y'all who have had me multiple times, or at least one time, you know that I utilize videos and movies within, whether it's a final project and or a regular project, quite often. And so if you had not looked at the course syllabus to see what that final project is, then you'll have that opportunity of doing that within week 7 to be able to do that. And hopefully it will be somewhat of enjoyment to you. But this week, I'm going to present Billy and Ann to you, and you get to pick who is it that you're going to help, why is it that you're going to help them, and then how are you going to help them? And I want you to take the all-inclusive nature from the text that you've read and studied up until this point to be able to express how you're going to help them. Billy and Ann, they come to see you because they have concerns with their 8-year-old daughter named Emily. She's throwing a fit about not being around them, and makes it difficult because both of them work. Billy works from home, and Ann is gone early in the morning and gets home extremely late. Emily is homeschooled and has a teacher come in the home to watch her and help her with school. Dad secludes himself in his office because he gets to work from home, and Ann does not work on the weekends, but Billy has a second job where he works on Saturday, and it's difficult for them to get to spend time together. Ann tries to put Emily to sleep, but she only wants Billy to be the one that actually puts her to sleep. Billy and Ann have been married for 10 years. So after you've met with the family for the first session, you've noticed some things. You've noticed that Ann is upset with Billy because he gets to stay home with Emily and has the opportunity of getting to see her whenever he wants to because of his office being at the house. Ann wants to quit her job, but she enjoys the financial freedom of having 2 incomes and wants that validation of it being okay to quit her job by Billy. Billy does not give her the validation because he doesn't understand that she needs that validation. And he does not understand why Anne will not give him any attention when he's home. In your discussion board, I want you to focus. I want to know who you're going to focus on your attention on in helping. Is it going to be Billy? Is it going to be Anne? Is it going to be Emily? Is it going to be Billy and Anne? Is it going to be Emily and one of the parents? Or is it going to be the family as a whole? What are the dynamics that you see that there being problems? And then how would you address them? And what is that based on? So as a result, this is actually preparing you as you have not only created a case study, right? You were able to take the dynamics, set them up, and then in week 2, I believe it was, and then in week 5, come around and resolve that. Well, now as we continue to evolve within this class, I want to be able to give you the case study because, and for you to have to think through it, because you don't get to choose as people are coming in your office to get to determine what the issues are. They're going to come in because of the issues that they're having. They're going to articulate them to you. And as a result of that, how are you going to process them? How are you going to determine where needs help, who needs help, and what is that based on? And so hopefully through the evolution of this class, you can kind of see the dynamics of thinking through this from an applicational measure, from what the text articulates and being able to put that into application, put that into action as you're helping individuals sitting in this chair. I know that for me, these case studies were vital as it allowed me to start thinking through and thinking futuristic as I would slowly start entering my practicum, entering my internship. And now as a result of that, it's been almost 13 plus years since I've been practicing. And as a result of that, I still enjoy case studies to think through the dynamics. What would I do? Because as the person sitting across from you, you don't have that time to sit there and think, okay, yes, there are times when I don't know what to do. I'll just put it out there. There are times I don't know what to do. And so in those times, what do I do? I'll sit back and I'll let them know. You know what? Can I pray for a moment? Okay. And so if I get quiet, it's just because I want to make sure that I'm going in the direction that I know that I need to go in, because I want to make sure that I don't trip up anything that God's wanting to do. Right. And so I'll put it out there. Now there are some reservations from individuals hearing that. It's the idea of the expression of competence, right? Some individuals may hear that and think, wow, Brady, I don't think you should do that because of how is that going to be portrayed by the individual sitting across from you on the couch or chair. And here's the thing. I would rather be vulnerable and transparent in a place of not self-reporting about my things, but where I am in the process that's going to help them understand that, guess what, I'm not the answer. That He is the answer, and I'm only here to facilitate. That's going to help them not to establish any type of enmeshment, and more so codependency. I guess that'd be a better term. The codependency upon me, looking to me always for the answer, but understanding and me modeling that for them, that guess what, I'm only looking to the source to be able to express what it is I'm hoping to help them connect the dots with, come into awareness. So as you look through this case study of Billy and Anne, right, having their daughter Emily, seeing the dynamics of Anne being out of the house, Billy being in the home, how there is a little tension and friction between Anne and Billy because Billy is able to get to stay home. She wants to come home and quit her job, but there is that disconnection between Billy and Emily. And then how is that overflowing onto Emily? And as I continue talking, I don't want to continue kind of giving you some ideas. I want you to be able to look through this objectively, because again, that's one of the great things that people come into counseling, come in for ministry for. And I may have already told you this story, and if I did, I apologize. Sometimes I lose track of what stories I tell, what classes, and so. But again, I remember early on having an algebra teacher who would actually, when you'd hand her the piece of paper, would grab the piece of paper and slam it against her face. And I remember thinking, boy, that was odd to me for many reasons. But the thing that I thought was probably the most odd was the idea of how could she see being that close? right? And so a lot of times, and I'll even give this illustration, I'll say, and typically when I'm laying it out, people may think it's kind of a funny illustration, or where in the world am I going as I'm unpacking this? But as a result, when I get to that landing point, they understand what it is I'm getting after. As I'm telling people the benefit for counsel, the benefit for ministry is the idea. I'll say, I'll tell them the story about that algebra teacher, and I'll say, why is it that I'm telling you this? Because a lot of times we can't see around what it is that we're so close to. And if you take my hand and I assess the stature of your height, could we conclude that you are a lot taller than my hand? And of course, that's a silly question, but yet I want them to start interacting. And of course, they'll say yes and say, okay, great, that makes perfect sense. But if I'm going through something and the closer my hand is to my face and what it is that I am attempting to try to see, now as a result of that, my hand looks bigger than whatever it is, regardless of size, that's sitting across from me. And as a result of that, if I'm walking through life and I'm trying to resolve things, but as a result of that, I can only see what's in front of me. And the closer that I am to it, the more subjective I am to it, the harder it is for me to resolve anything. And if I do attempt to resolve it, am I going to cause myself further issues? And I'll use this illustration as a result of that to help individuals say that's the benefit of having somebody that can see areas. And sometimes what you're going to hear may be revelatory, or maybe not revelatory, but it's revelatory in the moment because, again, we're too close. And so in this opportunity, as Billy and Ann come into your office to be able to help Emily, what we see is that there are other dynamics, which there always are, right? The presenting problem versus all the secondary problems that come along with that, right? Or is the presenting problem really the presenting problem? Or is that what they perceive being the presenting problem? But there's so many things underneath the surface, as we've talked about, the idea of conscious, unconscious, right? So as you continue to dissect this case study, I want to hear what's your what, what's your why, and what's your how. And who is it that you're going to choose to help? Do you deviate from the dynamic of what Billy and Ann are actually asking for you to actually help Emily? Or do you help Emily as a result of helping Billy and Ann, simultaneously of helping Emily, and correlate that within a family system? You get to choose. You get to choose, and I'm interested to get to hear you articulate that through the dynamics of your discussion. Now, please make sure that you're engaging your other students, right? Because part of your grade will be determined based upon not only your articulation of the discussion, but also making sure that you are engaging other students as well. Within the number of posts, but as a result of how you're posting within those individuals. And again, I appreciate how y'all have honored one another. That is amazing. I always say that you don't have to agree, but how do we honor them regardless if we agree and or disagree? And so I have thoroughly enjoyed how each and every one of you have honored your classmates, whether you have agreed with them and or disagreed with them. But if you do agree with them, why is it that you agree with them? How can you continue to allow the engagement to continue to work itself out, that guess what, further enlightenment can actually take place, not only for yourself, but for the individual that you're responding to? If you disagree, then why is that? Is it because that we're trying to indoctrinate them and allow them to see the way that we're seeing? Or is it from the standpoint of allowing them to come to for us to articulate where we are, as a result of appreciating their very perspective simultaneously? And I think that y'all have done that extremely, extremely well. And I want to commend each and every one of y'all for how y'all have done that. And I'm hoping that y'all continue to express that within this last discussion board for this semester. So there won't be one for week 7. So this is the last one. So make sure that you follow the submission guidelines as it's articulated within the syllabus. And I can't wait to get to read your discussion boards, get to join in the community and questions and statements and agreements and disagreements and things of that nature. But again, you get to determine. Just as you sit in that chair, you are the one who gets to help the individual. And so hopefully this, as well as the rest, all this class, as well as our final project together, will help us and prepare us Get ready for the field of what God's calling you to do. So week 6, here we go. If you need anything, let me know, and I look forward to getting to read your discussion boards. Have a great week.